Hey everybody, quick update to the last video I did, which was about 2 days ago. Um, like I said, the way the economy is being managed, which to me I don't like when I say managed. Free markets should be free and not managed. But anyway, the way things are being managed, it's very similar to how things are done in the healthcare field. And so we've seen today the stock market plummeting in excess of 300 points. Like I said in my last couple videos, I expected that to happen, so I put in some short positions and I locked in some of that because keep in mind, volatility is the key, okay? If you think back to the 2008 crisis, there was tremendous volatility before the final capitulation. And like I said, let me do a quick review before I get into the main topic of this video, which hopefully I can keep this under 5 minutes, just because I want to do a follow-up, is that capitulation is the final act that happens after after people are losing a lot of money and they need to finance, or they need to service their financing, I should say. So they've taken loans out on stuff. They need to pay their car loans, their student loans, their home loans, their credit cards, their all these different loans that they've taken out, their business loans. And so what do? When they don't have any income and the economy is crashing and things are contracting, there's no income from their work, right? Your customers are drying up. If you're an employee, your paycheck is drying up, or you've been laid off, like we saw with Forever 21, shuttered their, or declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They haven't shuttered yet, but they've declared Chapter 11, and among many other businesses that have been just closing shop. You know, it comes to a point where when there's no money coming in, you have to pay your debt. What do? You look at all the things that you do own that are valuable, and you start to liquidate those things so that you can take the funds you generate from selling those things and continue to service your debt. But that is limited as well. So ultimately, when the capitulation comes, you're going to see a very rapid, very dramatic crash. Now, President Trump has been touting the stock market. The stock market is one of those things that's had value. And so we have a liquidity trap right now. How do I know we have a liquidity trap? Because we have the Federal Reserve injecting billions and billions of dollars every day into the economy to kind of cover up the fact that there is no liquidity. So what is the liquidity? Quick review. People don't have cash to do things, so there's no spending going on. There's no velocity. And so when the Fed lowers interest rates, they expect monetary velocity to increase, but they cannot get any inflation. Why are they not getting inflation? Because the debt is a black hole. We've been borrowing into the future, and the future is now, and now we don't have the money to pay it back. And so whatever money we do have is getting sucked into that black hole. So you can't generate inflation when the money is constantly being sucked back into the debt. So the Fed ultimately has to print currencies, because if they keep lowering interest rates to zero, and if they just do one lump sum dump, you're going to see the United States dollar, which really is not the United States currency, it's the Federal Reserve's paper note. You'll see that go in the toilet dramatically, and you'll see hyperinflation in the United States. Now, getting back to the original topic, we are in a similar economic management system as healthcare management occurs. The Fed is not proactive. In other words, they don't seek to solve a problem before it happens. They are reactive, meaning the problem will happen first, and then they will react to it. This is why I locked in my gains today. I told you I had short positions, and we had a dramatic fall, and flawlessly, I have to say flawlessly, I was able to lock in those gains so that the market reversed and went up at the end of the day, and I was able to lock in that currency, that gain, so that I could redeploy it later and position better after the market rallies. Because I do believe we're going to get a forced rally sometime tomorrow to kind of try to cover up the crap that's going on. But in the end, like I said, everything is reactionary. So they will not be able to catch that final day of capitulation when it happens. And that day will come when everybody capitulates. It's like I was talking with one of my friends from the UK. He's a self-defense expert. And I was talking about this is going to go over 5 minutes, obviously, but I was talking about a self-defense situation with him because we teach self-defense. Well, he teaches self-defense. I don't. I practice it. And there was a video that I showed him from Brazil of a man about a week ago who was murdered by his coworker. It's a brutal murder. We watched the actual murder occur on the video because it was taken on a surveillance camera and posted on the internet. And what happened is the guy is kind of like putting something up on a shelf and he's not paying attention. And apparently either a coworker or an employee was not happy with him or wanted to off him. So he approaches him from behind with a hammer and starts hitting him in the head. He hits him in the head a couple times, knocks him on the ground, hits his arm so he won't try to defend himself. And then he keeps pounding him in the head. And then he sets the hammer on a counter and walks out of the room. The video camera is trained on this guy, and this guy keeps getting up. He keeps getting up. He's still fighting even though he's been knocked severely. There's blood all over the place. I'm sorry to be so brutal in the description, but really the description has nothing on that video. I mean, it's sickening to watch. And I do watch them because I believe the United States has pussified, and I'm honest about that, pussified the American people to turn them into victims because it doesn't allow you to want to see what happens in a real murder. And so you don't really know what happens in a real murder, and you feel safer by not seeing those things. And it works into the gun control thing where they can take your guns, and then when the real murders occur, you'll do what's known as capitulate. And this is how I'm tying it into the financial stuff. Anyway, this guy was not in the what's known as capitulation mode yet. He was still getting up. He's bleeding him. He's trying to fight. And that other guy comes in the room again and gives him 3 shotgun blasts. And amazingly, with the 3 shotgun blasts, the guy is still getting up. So he hasn't capitulated yet, but at some point, when you're attacked, everybody does it eventually. You do what's known as capitulate. You kind of surrender to the fact that you're going to die, and you refuse to fight anymore. And that is the same mentality that goes on in the financial world. At some point, you're just losing so much to the debt that you just resign to the fact that you cannot service it anymore, and you capitulate. And capitulate is you've tried to hold on to the things that you own for so long, but you just can't do it anymore because you become so addicted to the debt. The debt helps you buy things that you can't get normally because you don't earn enough money. So you start putting on your credit card and piling your credit card up that you've buried yourself in debt. And now, you've tried to hold on to those things so much that now you can't, you capitulate. And this is how the banks, central banking and communistic forms of government are bad overall, because eventually they steal all your stuff. There's no such thing, they talk about communism. It's a commune, and they're against individualism, which is individuality. In other words, property rights, where you own something exclusively to yourself. So if you're the type of person that likes to own things, but then you support communism, you're really screwed up in the mind. You really need to rethink that mentality, because the reality of communism is they don't want you to own anything individually. Nothing is exclusive to you. It belongs to the commune. In some ways, that's nice, and in some ways, we've kind of developed that kind of a socialistic kind of society, which, it kind of benefits us sometimes, like we have ride sharing. You don't have to own a car anymore. You can benefit by having someone else drive you. We have the share a bike kind of thing. It's Airbnb type mentality where you don't have to own a place or even go to a hotel. You can always have access to some place. So in some ways, communism is okay if you're good with that. In a lot of ways, we've always had some of that. We've had leasing. Leasing is like that. You don't have to buy a car; you can lease it. But in the end, when you lease a vehicle, it ends up being more expensive in the long run because you're paying interest on the payments of the vehicle, as opposed to if you just buy it outright. Yeah, as a lump sum, it's more expensive. You have to have all the money available to buy it as a lump sum, buy it outright. But in the long term, it becomes cheaper because let's say you buy a car for $15,000. With leasing, if you were to lease that same vehicle, you may end up paying $20,000 or even more because of all the interest payments, depending upon your rate. So this is where I'm getting at with communism. Communism, you know, we're seeing in China that it somewhat works, but China's not completely communist. They've got a lot of capitalism mixed in, but they've got a government that's really authoritarian. And it's dangerous. We're seeing that with Hong Kong as well. The Hong Kong people are trying to fight, and we got a first-hand example of that on the anniversary, the 70th anniversary of communist China. Hong Kong people were revolting against the police authority in Hong Kong because they were trying to, because of this extradition act. And yesterday, a protester was shot in the arm. Well, this is gun control for you, right? The protesters don't have firearms, so they resort to sticks and stones and acid, and the police and military officials have firearms. So when someone comes up and tries to hit a police officer in the back of the head, instead of using the rubber bullets, that police officer turned around with his pistol and shot an 18-year-old girl in the shoulder to stop her from attacking him. And this is almost like Tiananmen Square all over again. China has successfully clamped down on their media and suppressed the knowledge of their people to keep them stupid and enslaved, so that they've forgotten what happened a little over 30 years ago at Tiananmen Square. Tiananmen Square is when there were students pro-democracy. They were pro-democracy, anti-communist students that were protesting the oppression of the communist regime. And what did the communist regime do? They started killing the students, and they brought tanks in. And this is where we get your famous image of the student standing in front of the tank, and the tank is trying to move, and the student moves in front of the tank. Tank moves this way, the student moves this way. The student is showing that even though China likes to demonstrate their military prowess with their goose stepping, then they're going to switch to normal mark time marching soldiers in the hundreds of thousands, millions or whatever in force, that military strength ends up being a weakness for them because it shows your authoritarian abuse of power. And I have a feeling we're going to have the same situation with Hong Kong. I pray that nothing bad happens there where they actually end up killing people. I pray that doesn't happen because I love Hong Kong with a passion. I wanted to move to Hong Kong at some point, but when I was there in 1999, when it was handed over from the British regime to the communist regime, I figured I'm going to wait. I'm going to learn a little bit more. I'm going to observe a little bit more because I know authoritarians, they're bullies. Bullies are really cowards who like to use overwhelming force because they know you're going to overpower them, and they want to scare you so bad that you'll shrink and cower back and you won't hurt them. This is almost the way leftists and Democrats work here in the United States. They label you something so horrible like racist or xenophobic, or they try to call you names so that in the public sphere you'll look bad and you'll cower because they believe, because they are socialist or they're social beings, and they believe that their power comes from the image they receive from other people, the votes, if you will. They believe you'll react the same way by doing that. And patriots are very individualistic. They're very nationalist. They're very strong within themselves. So it doesn't work on us. You label us racist. We know we're not racists. So we can actually, it's like water off a duck's back, basically. You can pour it on us and it'll just roll right off. We really don't care. And this is the issues that I see with Hong Kong. You know, the Chinese can show all their military prowess as it seems like they're just celebrating their 70th anniversary. But the reality of it is they're trying to send a message to the Hong Kong citizens that they should conform to communism and not fight back. But Hong Kong ain't going to have anything of it. And the reality of it is Hong Kong is valuable to China because Hong Kong does all of the yuan clearances for the international exchange. And it helps China to be an international participant in the global markets. And if Hong Kong resigns that position, China won't be able to do anything. So really, China's got they may seem like they have all the strength and all the cards, but the reality of it is Hong Kong has the strength. That's why I believe in the end, just like Tiananmen Square, the pro-democracy people will win. Because in the end, pro-democracy people, or democracy in particular, like in the United States, we're not just a democracy, we are a republic, which is a representative form of democracy that is controlled by a constitution, which means the government is limited by a constitution. They can never overpower the people. The people are the government, and we tell them what to do. Whenever government becomes destructive of those ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish government. This is the Declaration of Independence, right? Whenever a government becomes destructive or authoritarian over a people, it is the right of the people to alter the government or to abolish the government. And we're getting to a point where it's scary in the United States, it's scary in Hong Kong, because you got the authoritarians who get a little taste of power and they want to take it from us and lord it over us. And we're seeing that also in our government right now. There's a major battle where they're trying to impeach President Trump for the Ukraine, but yet ex-vice president or former vice president Joe Biden was actually the one who was more in the Ukraine doing bad things, along with Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. All these Democrats were doing dirty deals in the Ukraine, and they're trying to blame it on President Trump to hide the fact that they were the ones doing all the dirty deeds. What is the AC/DC song? Dirty deeds done dirt cheap, right? Yeah, they're doing the dirty deeds done dirt cheap, right? And they're collecting the revenue from it, and they enjoy that power, and that's why they want to take guns from United States citizens, because in the end, we're becoming a communist nation. They're forcing us towards communism, and many people who support communism think that's a good thing, but they're not realizing that they are still existing in a capitalist nation and benefiting from it. That capitalism gives you choice because it offers you, by people starting businesses and producing goods and services, offers you choice. But in communism, you don't get that. You limit your choices. You get empty shelves. And yeah, the pro-communist shelves may be full for some time, because they will route all of those resources to the pro-communists when you transfer over. Just like in Venezuela, the pro-communist stores had food and water and stuff on their shelves, but the democratic sides of Venezuela, those stores were empty shelves for miles. And it gives the illusion that there's prosperity when the news media comes in, and the propaganda media actually that supports the communist side, just like our media pretty much across the board does. They'll come in, they'll report, yeah, the shelves are full, but the reality of it is there's not enough food to go around. And at some point there's going to be a collapse, because communists just don't produce anything. They don't want to. They're too lazy. They prefer to get freebies. This is why Bernie Sanders likes to appeal to communists. He likes to say, you're going to get free stuff, but where's that free stuff going to come from if no one is producing it? That's the thing that they never talk about. Bernie Sanders can talk a good one. Elizabeth Warren can talk a good one about how they give free college, free this and that, free health care, this and that. But no one wants to produce anything for free, right? So why would they give it for free? So if they don't, they will capitulate in their production of things, and you'll have nothing. You may get it for free at first because it's already been produced, but once people see you doing that, there's no incentive for anyone to produce anything, because there's no reward for them to produce it. So they'll stop. And you can give free things until there's no more free stuff to give. And this is what Margaret Thatcher basically said. You know, you can, socialism works until you run out of everybody else's money, right? You can keep giving away things until people don't want to give you things to give away, because they don't want to have to sacrifice for themselves for you to give it to other people and look good. All right, so this is where we're going with the economy. This is where we're going with medicine, everything. Everything is reactionary. The Federal Reserve does not produce any money. It doesn't create anything. It just takes taxpayer dollars and puts it where it feels best to do so. Like right now, they're borrowing bad debt from certain businesses, and they're injecting capital into those businesses in exchange, so those businesses have money and it appears like the economy is fine. But the reality of it is that is not going to solve our problems. it's going to only make them worse. So this is why I'm trying to reposition in my shorts. I believe tomorrow we're going to get a rally. We may Thursday get a little downfall. It all depends on the types of information we get out in the future. The Democrats are introducing instability with this and insecurity with this impeachment push. And so that always scares markets because they don't know what's going to happen. There's uncertainty in the future, and that makes people take their money out of assets because they don't know what's going to happen. So they want to have cash on hand. So Democrats are making things bad. The Federal Reserve is making things bad. And President Trump actually, I think, wants that. He wants the dollar to go in the toilet because it's not the U.S. currency. It is the Federal Reserve's note. And the Federal Reserve is using that note to make everyone bankrupt, to make everyone capitulate and sell everything they have so that we have a communistic nation where people don't own anything. They're all equally poor. And the banks steal all the money. And, that's how it goes. So it's just like the medical profession. They don't prevent the problem. They react to it. And then the reaction is going to be really bad. It's going to be an injection of currency like we've never seen before. So I believe the crash comes first. And I believe they'll start to inject some currency, and it may work a little bit, and then it's going to drop again. Then they're going to inject more currency, and it may stop a little bit. And then eventually what happens is people start to realize there's a major problem, and they wake up the whole world to the fact that there's a financial problem, and we will get a major, major, major crash. And I think it will come sometime before the year end. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm not. Hopefully I am wrong. I'm sorry. Hopefully I am wrong. And it does not come. And they are able to pull a Japan miracle here in the United States where we just stay miserable forever without a crash and without any rallies. The economy just kind of stays the same. It's a zombie. It's dead. It's not going to grow, but it's just going to keep going along, chugging along. And ultimately, that's not what I want. But I also do not want some kind of major disaster that they try to solve. Because if they try to solve major disasters, they tend to make them so bad that people actually starve to death and die. And I hate that. So anyway, there goes my 5-minute thing into a 25-minute thing. But I just had to cover all those things. And I hope that you guys, none of what I say constitutes financial advice. I'm just educating you about what I do, what I think, how I think. I'm not responsible for anything you decide to do with your own money. You're an adult. You should take responsibility for yourself. Because I'm not qualified, and I'm letting you know I'm not qualified. I even put it down in the description below, and, just so you know. But I do hope that certain things that I say to you may trigger you to be successful, and I wish you the best, and I hope the best for you. If it's the first time you're visiting my YouTube channel, I know I post on all other social media, so if you're on the other social media, like it, whatever. But if it's your first time on YouTube, like it, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you know every time I upload something, because I don't always upload regularly, and I want to make sure you guys gain access to what I'm posting. And most importantly, though, share to those you believe can benefit from the things I'm talking about. And since I don't monetize this channel through YouTube, YouTube's algorithms most likely have red flagged me, so I'm not going to get any revenue from that means. But I do have affiliate links down below, as well as links to my my cryptocurrency addresses. And I do appreciate any donations that I receive. Anything you can give to help me keep this channel going. I do it as a hobby right now, but who knows? If I eventually gain some following and a large number of people start donating, I'll up my game. I'll start getting video cameras and editing equipment, and I'll learn how to use it and start doing that stuff. Because I'm not really a video person. I'm an audio person, but right now I'm just using my my iPhone to do this stuff. But there's hope for the future. So hopefully you gain something from it. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you want to comment, by all means, I look forward to it. Peace. Love you guys. Take care.